Yo, welcome to Cult Report number 34. You got Mikey here running solo once again because Ricky is still kicking it in Pog Lake. Just getting a little away from the screen time for a few days. Had some shenanigans in Northern Ontario. Good for you, dude. Working on your tan, working on your summer feet. Let's jump into what we got this week. All right, so why some creators build believers while the rest of them rent buyers. That's what we're doing here. That's what the report's all about. And this week's current is that common communities are just an online library of content that encourages members to just show up, read along, and maybe post. A customer cult is about creating an experience that becomes a part of their world on screen and off, right? One that follows them home, becomes a part of the world, becomes a part of who they are. And research describes it as a visceral sense of oneness. So, the pull behind that behavior, what are we seeing, right? Bonding humans to other humans, this is a fundamental and existential human need. This is a huge part of the methodology of why we do what we do. We are in a loneliness epidemic, right? They say people are more lonely and depressed. There's like 2/3 of people interviewed say that they are lonely, and that is equivalent to 15 cigarettes a day. So worse than sitting, the new epidemic. But selling more content to read behind a screen is not going to work for great engagement for long-term retention, right? We need to make it a visceral part of their world, right? We need to get them on a similar mission with similar people. That's what it's all about. That's why cult creators, we focus on creating culture, not just content. People don't stay for the content. They stay because they feel like they are a part of something greater with like-minded people. And so the culture is really created when it can bleed into their real physical world, when we can make it not just something they experience online, but the online is an extension of what they experience in the real world, and they can communicate it with people around the world, right? And that's why we love to send physical mail, like these hats, and help them further embody this collective identity so that they get the results and they feel more, they embody the identity of what we're doing here, right? So that they pay, they stay, and sometimes they get the tattoo. And so with that, the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Man, I wanted one of these so bad. If we can check their website. I don't have the website up anymore. But the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So if you guys remember a few years ago, crypto was really kicking off. People started creating NFTs. It was like these digital pictures that people could buy for a ton of money, and people were spending like up to 500,000. I think Bieber spent like $3 million on his Bored Ape, and then you see Eminem has a video with Snoop Dogg, and the whole thing is Bored Apes. People were really bought in, right? They built a full ass customer cult out of this thing in a way that no other NFT that we ever saw did, right? So if you bought one of these, you had access to yacht parties, right? They had secret club parties. They were in Hong Kong, they were in Lisbon, they were in Vegas. Like you could see people, real friendships forming because it wasn't about the online experience. That was just what that granted you in the real world. And people even made it their online profile pictures. We saw that all over Twitter. People didn't have a profile picture, they just showed off their Bored Ape because they spent a lot of money on it. But it wasn't just an image or an asset to resell, it was a membership to a world with other like minded people, right? It signaled that they have the money, that they're into Web3, that they're into crypto, into this new age world, right? That they're driven, that they, right? There's so many things that they align on, what they value, what they believe about the world, that was just signaled by having a $15,000 picture of an ape. And so when the market crashed, like these went down to 5%. I think what Bieber spent millions on is only worth like $25,000 now. But people didn't sell. Like so many people, they just held on. They kept participating in this thing, and they watched six figures, sometimes seven figures evaporate, but they didn't sell because investments get dumped, but identities do not, right? And so the base holders, they never sold their pictures because it was a membership card. It was something that gave them access in the real world. And so right now the floor to own one is $15,000, 15,400, I think, US dollars. And it just shows how expensive and profitable this belonging is. So I think I still want one. It sounds super cool. But let's see if we can show you this. Look at that. Become a member, buy an ape. So yeah, you can see the clubhouse. They have a real clubhouse coming soon. You can shop their merch. And then to become a member, it's on OpenSea. You can see the Bored Ape Yacht Club, 15.4 thousand. So the top offer, 15,000. Total volume, 3.8 billion. There's 5,608 owners. Just to own one of these bad boys. So pretty sweet. It just shows the power of belonging and making it a real world immersion. Just like Sarah did in The Holy Way. I know we bring her up a bunch, but she did it perfectly. So she had 180 members, but weak retention when we started working with her. So they're a part of her Holy Mess. And they didn't have a collective identity when we started with them. She just had the content wheel, right? She was doing new content every single week, every single month. And so she was always on that hamster wheel. And so we fixed that. But more importantly, we fixed the journey they're going on by who they're becoming, right? And so they landed on Soulful Sisters because it's really about solving soul hunger. And so they're soulful and they're sisters, right? It's a very church-oriented brand. And so we built a whole world around it, right? They had the Holy Work and the Holy Fork, just like a language they were participating in because it's a hard road together, right? A lot of these communities, you're doing hard things. So we have to override human behavior because it's a tough thing that it's easy to slip. And so we saw that there was this picture posted and Gail posted about a real life situation that had her tickled, right? She was at a bookstore and the cashier said, "Are you a soulful sister?" And they recognized each other from Sarah's group. And they bonded over this shared mission. And they, strangers quickly became sisters. And the one said that that moment made the journey feel more real. And so you can't get that with a better content library, but you can get that when you have a strong sense of belonging. And we had that with Funkster all the time. People were going on trips and they're like, all right, who's in Nevada and who's in North Carolina? Like, I'm doing a motorbike trip. And they'd meet at a diner, they'd drink coffee, and they would send a picture in. And you can sell, like, that's what makes this whole thing real, is when you make it a part of their world. And so this week, if you're going to ride the wave, it's about signaling your affiliation. So it's one thing to feel like you're a part of something cool, but it's another when you can express it to the world, right? Like people with band t-shirts or like tour t-shirts, like people who follow tours of their favorite bands, like they're signaling to the world their affinity to that band, right? And that's a big way people align on values and beliefs and who we are and what we like in the world and finding other people who are similar to us. And so how can you signal? How can you make it real? Send them physical things, give them an identity, making experience that are part of the real world. So the conversation happens online, but it's experience online, offline, and the whole thing just blurs together because it's just a part of who they are. So that's the Cult Report this week. It's that immersion into belonging, right? Not just content, but culture. So it's Cult Report number 34. See you on the inside. Let's get it.